and Margaret at the beginning of her career. She was called the female Elvis Presley for her incredible energy and charisma, which made her one of the brightest stars of the 60s. Sergeant Stubby, an ordinary stray dog who became the most decorated animal of World War I. He participated in 17 battles, warned of gas attacks, found the wounded, and even single-handedly captured a German spy. A girl on a Vespa scooter in New York, 1969. This photograph, full of movement and summer mood, is the perfect embodiment of the carefree spirit of the 60s. Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas, and actor Dennis Hopper. Their marriage, which took place at the height of both their fame, lasted only 8 days and went down in history as one of the shortest and most scandalous in Hollywood. The French airship Le Jaune against the backdrop of the Eiffel Tower. This picture is a reminder of the short but bright era of air travel, when these giant cigars in the sky seem to be the pinnacle of technical progress and the future of transport. Charles Lindbergh and his plane, the Spirit of St. Louis. In 1927, he became the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic, becoming a national hero of America and a symbol of human courage. The Eiffel Tower under construction, 1888. At the time, the Parisian intelligentsia called it an ugly skeleton and demanded its demolition immediately after the exhibition, never suspecting that this metal frame would become the most recognizable symbol of France. A suffragette parade in New York around 1913. Children with a sign saying, "I want my mother to be able to vote," were a powerful propaganda tool, showing that the fight for voting rights was not just politics, but a battle for the future of their families. One of the first ice cream delivery trucks. The advertising slogan on the side reads, "Eat a plate of ice cream every day, but make sure it's delicious," proving that the foundations of marketing were laid 100 years ago. A market in Havana, Cuba, 1904. This photograph, taken just a few years after the end of the Spanish-American War, captures the bustling life of a city trying to find its place in a new, changed world. The Washington Monument, unfinished due to the Civil War 1860. This stump, which stood like this for almost 20 years, became a symbol for contemporaries of a divided nation that managed to find the strength to become whole again. An early lineup of the band The Runaways, 1975. These girls, Mickey Steele, Sandy West, and Joan Jett, were among the first to prove that rock and roll was not just a man's territory. This is Iraqi artist Layla Alatar, who was killed in a U.S. missile strike in 1993. The reason was her mosaic on a hotel floor depicting George H.W. Bush, which everyone entering had to walk on. Brigitte Bardot, a ballerina on the roof of the Paris Opera. Before becoming a movie star and a sex symbol, she seriously studied ballet and was even accepted into the company, but ultimately chose cinema. Marilyn Monroe performs for a crowd of thousands of American soldiers in Korea 1954. This tour, which she undertook during her honeymoon, became one of the brightest moments of her career and forever inscribed her in history as the soldier's dream. This is 18-year-old Madonna Ciccone in 1976, when she was a ballet student at the University of Michigan. 2 years later, she would drop out and, with $35 in her pocket, leave to conquer New York to become the queen of pop music. General Charles de Gaulle inspects sailors of the Free French in Great Britain, 1941. After the capitulation of France, these sailors refused to obey the new government and continued to fight, becoming a symbol of the French resistance. The streets of Naples in the mid-20th century, where freshly made spaghetti was dried, right out in the open on wooden racks. Before ending up in a pot, it absorbed all the city's flavor, from the sun to the road dust. A young Theodore Roosevelt during his studies at Harvard. In this thin and sickly youth, it is still difficult to recognize the future Rough Rider, war hero, and one of the most energetic presidents in U.S. history. The destroyed Frauenkirche and the surviving monument to Martin Luther in Dresden, 1958. This photograph became a symbol of the senseless destruction of one of Europe's most beautiful cities, and the church, rebuilt from the ruins, became a symbol of reconciliation. Stevie Nicks, the vocalist of Fleetwood Mac in the 70s. Her mystical image, flowing outfits, and unique voice made her the queen of rock and a style icon for a whole generation. March 1953, Washington. A restaurant of the Ukrainian diaspora puts up a sign, "Free Borscht," in honor of Stalin's demise. While Moscow was bidding farewell to the leader, here across the ocean, people were simply and cheerfully celebrating the event with a bowl of hot soup. The rooftop racetrack at the Fiat factory in Turin, 1923. This unique track, built for testing new cars, was not just an engineering marvel, but a true symbol of Italian futurism and faith in a technological future. Damascus, Syria, the 70s. These bright flared trousers, miniskirts, and fashionable hairstyles are a reminder that before the start of the Civil War, Damascus was one of the most secular and modern capitals in the Middle East. The windows on the World Restaurant on the 107th floor of the World Trade Center, 1980s. It offered the best view of New York, and dinner at this place was a real event that, unfortunately, is forever in the past. Rita Hayworth in her kitchen. Even in a domestic setting, one of the main love goddesses of the 40s did not lose her charm, proving that true beauty does not require bright makeup and evening gowns. This is not yet Marilyn Monroe, but Norma Jean Baker in 1946. With her natural hair color and modest smile, it is difficult to recognize the future main sex symbol of the 20th century in her. Los Angeles police officers on Harley-Davidson motorcycles. This photograph, taken by the legendary photographer Loomis Dean, is not just a parade but a demonstration of power and order in a city that has always been full of temptations and dangers. Audrey Hepburn in the guise of her character from the film My Fair Lady. To turn a simple flower girl into a lady, she had to go through the agony of learning proper speech, but the result exceeded all expectations. A Soviet officer returns home after the end of World War II, 1945. This photograph, full of genuine joy, became one of the most famous symbols of victory, a simple human moment for which that terrible war was fought. On the arm of this seasonal worker from Ohio in 1939 is tattooed his Social Security number, which had been introduced just 4 years earlier. For the generation of the Great Depression, this number on their body became a symbol of the only government guarantee in their old age. A young Angelina Jolie with her mother, actress Marceline Bertrand, in the 70s. It was from her mother, who had French, Dutch, and German roots, that Angelina inherited her exotic and memorable appearance. The Windows on the World restaurant on the 107th floor of the World Trade Center. It offered the best view of nighttime New York, and dinner at this place was a real event that, unfortunately, is forever in the past. Rowan Atkinson and his Aston Martin V8 Vantage in 1984. Long before he became known to the world as Mr. Bean, he was just a talented comedian and a great connoisseur of British sports cars. Arnold Schwarzenegger had a ballet lesson in 1976. To improve his posing skills and add more grace to his movements, the Austrian oak took lessons from a professional ballerina, proving that even a mountain of muscle requires plasticity. A perfume vending machine in a women's restroom, 1952. For 10 cents, any lady could freshen up her scent, choosing from one of the popular perfumes of the time, including Chanel. Paul McCartney and George Harrison at the airport in New York during the Beatles' first visit to the USA in 1964. In Paul's hands is a magazine with Little Richard on the cover, one of his main idols whose music inspired him to become who he became. The Panama Canal in the early 20th century. These workers drilling into rock with primitive steam drills are the true heroes of one of the grandest and most dangerous construction projects in human history, which claimed the lives of thousands of people. Flight attendants and a pilot at the steps of a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar aircraft. In the golden age of aviation, flight attendants were not just service personnel, but real stars, symbols of glamour and prestige. Monica Bellucci in 1992, even before she became a global symbol of Italian beauty. Here she is just a budding model, but her gaze already holds that same confidence that would conquer world cinema a few years later. The Reichstag building in Berlin in 1945 and in 2012. These two images are tangible proof that even the most terrible wounds inflicted by war can be healed, and symbols of destruction can be turned into symbols of peace and unity. Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, and James Coburn on the set of the film The Great Escape in 1962. These three icons of cool not only acted together but were also best friends in real life, creating an atmosphere of true male camaraderie on set.